So let's do a quick little recap on the patch notes that were just released and see what we have. So we have a bunch of new items and uniques as they promised us. Some of them we saw already, but there were some new ones here. These first two are pretty cool because they're really buffing basic skill builds. Like I really wanted to make a Frenzy Barb work, and I tried it and really wasn't that good. But if you damage enemies with a non-basic skill, it marks them for 3 seconds. So you take Hoda, bam, you hit them, they're marked. Then, when a basic skill hits a marked enemy, its damage is echoed to all marked enemies and deals 200% increased damage. So that's pretty massive, and I like stuff like this because it actually might generate new ways of gameplay. You're always generator, generator, generator. Use a core skill. Now it's actually the complete reverse. Use a core skill, then spam your generators as much as you possibly can to deal massive damage, and the other power here synergizes with that. Here's another aspect to get armor, which is currently completely dominated by disobedience. I told Blizzard disobedience is a problem because every class needs it. At least you have another option. Ring of the Starless Skies. They asked for uber unique feedback. I said I absolutely hated this uber unique because when you used literally anything, it completely canceled all of your buffs, and it pretty much pigeonholed you into a certain play style where you just sit there and mindlessly spam a core skill, and if you do anything else, you're penalized for it. I was like, isn't this exactly the kind of gameplay you're not trying to promote? You're trying to promote gameplay that makes sense and is fun, and you can use all of your abilities on your build. Well, this uber unique essentially says that you can't do that. So now when you spend resources, it just reduces your resource cost and increases your power by up to 40%. It's much simpler, and I think people are going to like it a hell of a lot better, so that's good. Melted Heart, they made some changes. It was like making people immortal, so they're trying to make sure that that doesn't happen. Now, this overpower change, so they nerfed overpower itself, and they nerfed overpower within Barbarians, because Barbarians are just out of control with their Hoda bugs, their overpower is too strong, and then overpower itself is too strong. But they essentially cut it in half. Without actually playing it and testing it, I'm still guessing that overpower is going to be excellent. Even with losing half of its power, it's probably still going to be a very good option. So, I actually think if I was hoping that overpower would survive the nerfs, I think this is actually a pretty good result because I thought there was a decent chance they were going to cut away more than 50% of overpower's power, and so that's honestly a pretty good result. Got a new ring for Rend here. We're always trying to make these bleeding builds work. There's other powers for bleed, but and then another thing for upheaval. Excuse me, upheaval. I was expecting to be one of the best skills for Barb because it was the only real new one. But finally, in the last two patches, upheaval is making a comeback. The thing that's getting the absolute massive buff here is charge. So I think we've got to try charge and see how great it is. And they were under the impression, at least what it sounded like when they talked about in the campfire, that charge is going to be super overpowered. And they said, well, if it is this season, they don't really care. So that's probably the thing to try. So they said they were going to buff some of these key passives. They did. The Marshall glyph is kind of, I think this is actually, it's a nerf to, they're nerfing the idea that you need to just spam your shouts all the time, which is a good thing. But if it's going to reduce the cooldown of every non-shout skill, that might help different builds, like if you're making a charge build, for example. And this Echoing Fury thing, I think, is actually a buff. They used to give you 4 Fury per second for every time each shout is active. So you'd say, well, if you have 3 shouts active, 3 times 4 is 12, and now you get 10, so that's a nerf. But you don't always have all 3 shouts active. You're trying to, but they nerf cooldown, and it's not always guaranteed. Now it's just 10 Fury for 1 shout. I don't really consider that a nerf. I think that's actually huge quality of life, actually. You get one shout, you get your 10 fury per second, and I like the change a lot. They're adding some timers here to Limitless Rage and the Red Ring of Furor to make sure that you can't, like, I'm walking through my dungeon to Duriel, I'm hitting the monsters with a certain combination of weapon swapping, I'm waiting for Duriel to spawn, I swing one time, I hit him for 300 million damage and kill him. Now you have a 5-second window to hold all those buffs together to make sure that that kind of nonsense doesn't happen. For Druids, there's two winners, Lightning Storm and Rabies. I was reading through, they showed the new Lightning Storm spreading everywhere, and Rabies is going to get reduced cooldown. Rabies in the alpha, I believe, was one of the best skills, and then they nerfed the living shit out of it. It's the same story as Upheaval. Upheaval and Rabies ruled the alphas, and then Blizzard nerfed it to shit, and now it's slowly coming back. Is kind of the same story there. Other pretty good changes here. Not sure anything here is going to be super critical. We will look at McFluffin and Boilers right up for the Druids, but nothing super multiplicative instead of additive on the Spirit Boons. That's pretty good. Blurred Beast. I mean, we talked about this with the Poison Shred, about it double dipping. So they made some changes there. They said they were going to do that. Okay, on to the Necromancer. You are Bloodlanced, and when Bloodlance would deal damage to you, instead it fortifies you and gives you a Blood Orb, and it makes Bloodlance do more damage. Bloodlance was a pretty good build last season. I played it up to like level 95, and it was good. And so the fact that it's getting more love, the Blood Necro is definitely there, and Blood Surge is got to be one of the best, if not the best, skill in the entire game. Just unbelievable. I think this is incredible. Look at this. Bone Spirit launches 18 bone splinters in all directions. It reminds me of the Diablo 2 Teeth Necro. This might be real fun. And 400 increased damage, and it's going to generate essence for you. I'm 1,000% sure some Necros are going to be going Bone Spirit with this 18 splinters in all directions. This is pure madness right there. We read through all of these. Not sure anything here was super crazy. They said this is the season of Bone Spirits, so we're going to expect that to be pretty good. You have passability through the bone prisons now, so we're trying to make that more helpful. The golems got buffed in the Book of the Dead. We know that. Okay. We heard about this. I believe they talked about this in the campfire, where the Bone Spirit used to do more damage based on distance traveled. Instead, they changed it to give you everything that you wanted: crit chance, maximum essence, and things like that. Enemies afflicted by an Iron Maiden used to have a 25% chance to be stunned. Now, Iron Maiden is a darkness skill, deals shadow damage. Enemies afflicted by your Iron Maiden have a 25% chance to be stunned. Okay, just more synergy there with the Shadow Necros. Rogues. Okay, so rogues here, I think rogues are definitely going to become harder to play with some of the changes that I read. I think rogues, at least melee rogues, might be coming down a bit. Ranged rogues might be going up, but I think the difficulty of playing rogues is going to be going up. Which I guess is the whole class fantasy of it, right? It's like the whole intricate, dodgy, press a lot of buttons Street Fighter character of Diablo 4. When you cast an ultimate skill, your next core skill consumes all of your energy, deals 1.5% increased damage for all energy consumed, and using a cooldown restores 5 energy. So when I'm thinking about this, I think this is going to be something with Death Trap, because Death Trap is the one that you can reset really often, right? So that would be my guess as to the main idea behind these boots, but we'll have to see what Dioxide and Woody come up for that. And this looks to be a defensive thing. So we go down. They said they're going to make Caltrops better. Okay. They said they're going to make ranged rogues better. That's good. And so if we go down here, they're making penetrating shot better. We knew that was going to happen. Okay, so now when we read through all of this stuff, again, this is more about, so the reason why I'm saying that this is going to be a little bit more difficult is your next core skill after you use an ultimate skill is going to do all of these extra things, and it's going to deplete all of your energy. So now it's not only giving you a rotation, it's ultimate and then the core. Then it's also, for the cool effect that you're going to get, it's going to delete all of your energy, which then you then need to replenish. Certainly there will be a way to do it, but it's something that you have to be mindful of. It's something that you have to do correctly. Then when you come down here, when they change things like precision, you read what it used to do. That's a lot of words. Now each marksman skill gets you 1 stack of precision, 2 if it crits. Then you have to pay attention when you hit 6 because your next marksman core or ultimate skill is going to crit and do 50% increased damage and delete all of your stacks. So that means you don't exactly know if you're getting 1 or 2 stacks. You have to pay attention to it. When you get 6, it's your next attack that gets this. It's a lot of paying attention now. So if any of you guys were playing the rogue for fun, just randomly mashing your skills, you're probably not going to get away with that anymore. Then we come to Twisting Blades. Twisting Blades now only hits 2 times instead of 3. And what they're doing now is it seems like they're taking away a lot of the orbit damage, and they're putting it all into the returning damage. So the orbiting blades are hitting less often, and they don't hit as hard, and they're putting more of the damage into the traveling blades, which is going to make it a lot harder, and a lot harder to play because you have to do the damage, with the blades that you're kiting essentially through. Going to be more difficult, that's for sure. So, yeah. I mean, there's other changes here that we can read through, but it's kind of the general sentiment here, and they're trying to fix a lot of these poison problems, these poison and twisting blade interactions. And they said that they were buffing the legendary bows, so there they are. They've got some nice buffs there. Okay, sorcerers. We saw the chain meteor thing. That looks cool. Ice Blades is going to have a high chance to apply vulnerable. The vulnerable duration is going to be increased, and you get multiplicative vulnerable damage. Anytime there's an X here instead of a plus, you always got to be paying attention. Ball Lightning. Okay, now this is where we're going to have to go to paint. I could be completely wrong on this. We got to look at what Ball Lightning is doing now, and this could be completely wrong. So what Ball Lightning used to do, in fact, I have it right over here, luckily. Ball Lightning used to have its damage rate increased by 200% of your attack speed bonus. 200% attack speed bonus. Okay. Now what this says is its attack rate, which I'm guessing is damage rate. We're making an assumption there. It increases with your overall attack speed up to 25%. So here is my best guess of what that means, and it could be completely wrong. Let's say your base attack speed is 1. Let's say your bonus attack speed is 0.3, which would bring your total attack speed to 1.3, right? Well, the old thing it would do is it would take your attack speed bonus, 1 plus your attack speed bonus, and it would double this portion of it for a 1.6. Now, what it does is it scales with your entire attack speed up to 1.25. So, well, we have 1.3, and so they're going to give you 1.25 of it. That's my best interpretation after Chat and I read it 16,000 times in Theory Crafted. I think Quackily was the first one to come up with this theory of that's what it means, but really, really not sure at all. Really not sure at all. That could be wrong. It could be just as simple as, oh, it used to do 200% damage and now it's 25. Could be that simple and we're overthinking it. Or it could be this. We better hope it's this, because if it's something like this, then it's much less of a nerf than this. But one way or another, ball lightning is going down. Is it going down enough to obliterate it? Not sure. They said they were going to buff Lightning Spear. They said they were going to make some changes to the Paragon nodes. They buffed them a little bit. And there we have it. They've also made a couple of nice little changes here. Scroll of Escape now will actually have a legendary icon, for example. Hardcore players will really appreciate that. They made world bosses not just instantly give you godly gear if you're like the way I understand it, if you're low level going in there, you'll get godly gear at high levels, but if you're trying to leech, you're not going to get godly gear, which is good. They're going to give you, they adjusted the item power ranges, so they're much better for some of the different things that you're farming through. That's a really nice change. This is a very nice change, by the way. You can actually farm good gear in Nightmare Dungeons now instead of going everywhere else. So yeah, that's the, I would say that's the patch notes summary. Nothing too crazy. Blizzard delivering on exactly what they said they were going to. That's all we can ever ask them for. Looks like Charge Barb, man, is getting a 900% increase, and some of those other changes seems like it's going to be easy to potentially spam charge everywhere. It might be Charge Barb, man. It might be Charge Barb running around everywhere, just bashing your heads into things and one-shotting everything. Looks like that could be it.